Welcome to this series again and glad to see you. So let's get started. Let's jump into this topic on how do we want to improve our cash flow during this COVID crisis. How do we turn this situation around to give us an opportunity to improve our cash flow? You see, a lot of the cash flow problems that are clients that I have, they are actually cash flow bad habits. Now, do you have cash flow bad habits? It is really during this time of a crisis that the effects of these bad habits are surfaced. Because previously, when times are good, they kind of like live with it. So today what we're going to do is really to go deep into seeing how can we change the way we manage our cash flow and to develop new strategies to have a better cash flow. Okay, so we want to start by coming back to this whole concept and idea that cash flow is like the engine of our business. The only way we can move forward is if we have got a healthy cash flow, a good and healthy, strong engine. So what we're going to do today is to really ask ourselves, how do we improve this engine? And we're going to be talking about a few key areas. Today we're going to be focusing on the accounts receivables and payables because these are the two things that actually cause a lot of problems for a lot of companies. And in the previous video, we talked about the 7 levers, and accounts receivables and accounts payables are 2 items that we can work on to improve our cash flow. So one of the things we can do is now reevaluate our relationships with vendors and customers. It's a good time to ask ourselves, what are the terms that we can accept or not accept? Second is to renegotiate deals for better cash flow through a triage system. What's a triage system? I'm going to talk about that in the next slide. And third is to redesign your business model to accept advance payments for post-COVID transactions. So this is really about changing the business model to accept cash, to accept prepayments. Okay, so let's talk about them in detail. When we talk about a triage system, it's really talking about making a list of customers and suppliers that you have. And in this list of customers and suppliers, you identify the super consumers or the super suppliers. So in one of the videos that Vern talks about this triage system where you make a list of the top 25 relationships that you want to keep, right? So we make a list of the top customers and suppliers that we call super consumers or super suppliers, right? Super consumers are those consumers who still need your products or services after the virus. In fact, this demand will not stop, even especially after the virus. Or the super suppliers are people who still need you and you still need them to supply you after this crisis. And not only that, you want to identify those people you want to do better business with. Now is the time to get rid of unhealthy relationship with customers and suppliers. I've got clients who have got really acrimonious, bitter relationship with their suppliers or their clients, but for a long time they just learn to live with each other. How do you get better terms out of people like that, right? So use this opportunity because why? Your customers and your suppliers are also looking to improve terms. Everybody is desperate. People can now start to talk about things that previously they cannot because now everybody is renegotiating. So make a list of the super customers that you have and the super suppliers, right? And these are the people that you ask yourself, how do you want to do better business with them? What are those terms that you want to start negotiating with for the business after the crisis? You don't talk to them when the crisis is over. You talk to them now because the pain is most acute and everybody is open to negotiate. And now when you have a list, the beauty of always making a list is clarity. Because previously, your customers are just, like everybody is a customer, everybody is a supplier. You deal with everybody the same. But now's the time to really say, what are those relationships that you want to treasure? You want to give better terms, and you might be able to get better terms from. Remember the negotiating relationship? You are able to do this if I'm able to do that. So this is a time to come out with that list, a triage, right? Who are those you want to get rid? Who are those you want to do better business with? So I want to tell you a story to give you an illustration of what we mean by super consumers and how do you change the business terms. We talk about prepayments, changing the business model to improve the cash flow. There is a pizza company, and this pizza company knows that, okay, now, the whole idea of people eating, delivery and all that, how do we get money into our pockets first, right? Because even though people are doing delivery, if you talk to food restaurant people, they'll tell you that delivery business will not replace the walk-in customer. So what do? How do they make sure they don't have a cash flow crunch? So they did a very, very simple business model that I'm sure every one of you would have heard of, and that is they sold coupons or they sold gift cards, right? And if you buy a $20 gift card to be used, the next time you place an order, you will get one free pizza. So now this is a very simple way to get cash into your pockets, but it's not just to everybody. They market it to their super consumers. That means those people who will still eat pizza no matter what, right? Because this is a way to guarantee that they will pay first. Now, it sounds like a very simple concept, but I want to extrapolate it to a bigger case study of airlines. You see, I'm just asking myself this question. I am a frequent flyer. I fly very often. Before this crisis, I'm on a plane every other week, right? I spend tens of thousands on air tickets. Now, with this COVID crisis happening and all airlines being grounded, cash flow goes to zero, right? And that's why you are seeing so many problems. But what I don't understand is that how come no airline has actually looked at their database, do a list of who are their super consumers, and ask this question, how can I collect cash from these super consumers while in the midst of this crisis? The principle is this. These super consumers will still consume my services even after the crisis. So, example, I'm just wondering how come nobody has come to me and say that, Mr. Jeremy, we noticed that you spend $50,000-$60,000 on air tickets every year because of business trips. We are going to sell you a advance voucher, say $10,000. We'll collect it from you now, and if you start to fly again, a ticket that costs $1,000, if you redeem it from your prepayments, it'll only be $900 or $800. Now, there will be people who will still have to fly after the crisis. These are your super consumers. Why don't you make that list and start selling to them? So, anyway, this is an airline that I love, but they have not thought of this even. And they're one of the best airlines in the world, and I will definitely be flying with them after the crisis. I'm a super consumer. They should have made a list of their super consumers and ask themselves, how do we reevaluate our relationship with this super consumer? How do we change the way we do business? And how do we make sure that I collect money upfront? So this is just a simple idea that I want to share with you on how do you manage your super consumers and your super suppliers, right? How do we come out with that list? How do we change the business terms? What are those things that do not change even after the crisis? And who are those that we want to do better business with after the crisis? And this is one way to collect money upfront, improve your cash flow, and change your business model. So I'm going to talk about changing the business model in greater detail with digital transformation in our next video. So I hope to see you, and thank you very much.